Hello, my name is Andrei, and here I want to tell about IdaJS, the modern engine for Little Big Adventure 2 game. So this will be a small tutorial video where I will show how you set up IdaJS on your machine and how you can create your first mod from scratch. We are going to continue probably this tutorial series later, where I will show more advanced work with IdaJS. So stay tuned, and if you want, subscribe to this channel. So let's talk a bit about IdaJS, how we can install it and run on our machine. First of all, you need, of course, to have purchased this copy of LBA2 game, and you can take it from Steam or from Good Old Games. If you have an old disk with LBA2, maybe it will work as well. I didn't test because I don't have old disk with LBA2. I prepared here a fresh virtual machine, so I can just show how you can install IdaJS completely from scratch. And we have this getting started guide, but you don't have to read through all of it because I will guide you through it. So first of all, it says it supports GOG and Steam versions of the game. I didn't try again each IO. Maybe it will also work. But I have tried it with both GOG and Steam, and it works. So first of all, let's go to our virtual machine. To start with, we can open our browser. I can go to ida-bytes.com, like here, and we can just download the latest version of IdaJS. It's a source code. We cannot distribute binaries because of license limitations, but the source code can be compiled on your machine and it's automated, so there shouldn't be anything scary in this process. We have a setup script that does everything. So first of all, we need to download, and let's open this file. You have a folder IdaJS and version. Let's copy it, and let's put it to the C drive. I have folder called My Projects I created for this. You can have another folder for your projects, so something somewhere. And we paste this from zip file. So we have a folder, call it IdaJS. All right. So all we need now is also include V8 packages to IDA because the source code comes without V8 because of, again, license limitation. Both V8 and LBA2 are open sourced, but V8 has different license that is incompatible with GPL v2 that LBA2 community code has. So we need to just add V8 manually on our machine and build privately. I will show you how to do it. So if you go to this getting started, we have section add V8 engine to IdaJS source code. All we need is download this file, packages config. Let's click it. It contains NuGet packages references of Google V8 engine. Then we need to open the folder, right? And copy this file. Let's copy. Then we can go to our IdaJS. Let's actually add it to quick access. And we have folder IDA, where the source code of IdaJS is, and we can just paste. So that file. Now we are ready to build, so we can go back to the root of the project, to IdaJS, and we need to find this file called setup.bat. And if we right-click, we need to run from administrator. So let's run. And this will start setup needed tools. It will need PowerShell, it will need Git, it will need Visual Studio build tools. Nothing big, but it needs everything to build C++ and assembly applications that LBA2 is. So basically building from source code. That's why I need these tools. If you want to see which exactly tools are installed, you can see here the list of what it's installing on your machine. And it only does it once, so you only need to go through this build process once. After IdaJS is built on your machine, you don't need to do it again. You can use it. So you can see now it's downloading, installing PowerShell 7. So let's wait a bit. For this process, it can take from 5 minutes to 20 minutes, depending on speed of your machine. And if some of those tools are already installed on your machine, it will, of course, detect it and skip. It will not install them again. Then you can see it might start running Visual Studio installer. This is not installing full Visual Studio, but it's installing Visual Studio build tools that will be needed to build. If you already have Visual Studio build tools installed on your machine, it will, of course, skip this step. But if you don't, you will see this window. So also need to wait for this to finish. And this takes a bit of time, maybe again, depending on the speed of your machine. Let's wait. I will cut where it takes long, so you don't need to wait, but you can see my clock here. And by clock, you will see how much this install process took. Now you can see it's finishing up with Visual Studio build tools. And you can see build script continues. So now it's an important part. We need to select the directory of our installed A Little Big Adventure 2 game. We need to select the one where HQR files are located. So those are files with all resources, with models, with animations, with everything game uses to run. So important to know that IdaJS will never change anything in those files, but it needs to consume those files to run the game. So actually, because IdaJS runs LBA game engine, and it needs to know where the files are located to read them. And since I have a Steam version of the game, then I need to go to my C drive and find this Steam installation. It's in program files x86. I have a folder Steam here. Then I have Steam apps, common. That's where Steam installs games. And I have only Little Big Adventure 2 here installed, since my virtual machine. And here I need to select not the root folder, that's important, but the common folder, because the common contains all HQR files. So I select common and press select. And then it continues. Now it's downloading SDL library and Solout libraries. It's open source libraries that use it to run graphics and sounds. And okay, and now you have license compatibility warning. That's because, as I told, we use V8 Google Engine. So basically, all it says, you can create mods locally. You can use IdaJS privately as much as you want. The only thing you cannot is to distribute executable file of LBA2 and other libraries. It doesn't concern your mods. So if you create any mod on this engine, you can freely distribute it in the internet. But the program itself that we are building now, you can use only locally on your machine. So you can read it if you want. You can press accept. And basically, it continues build process afterwards. You can see it downloaded V8 NuGet packages now. And it started building SDL. Again, I will skip to the part where the build is end. Now I need to just wait. And after 5 minutes, your build should be end. And now you can see it's almost done. It proposes to select language in the game. What will be text language? What will be audio language? Let's select English for both. And press confirm language selection. And you can see now it says build successful. So you can now go to release folder and run LBA2 exe. So let's do it. Let's close this window. And now we can go to our My Projects where we have IdaJS. And we need to go to release folder. That's where build output is. So that's where our binaries are. And here we have LBA2 exe. So this one we can run. Now let's do it just to see if it works, right? You can see it starts the game and the beginning scene. Yeah, I'm now running virtual machine, so you can see graphics can be a bit jerky, but this because it's a virtual machine. What I recommend when we are testing the mods, let's switch to windowed mode because we can see console. We have this full screen videos. We need to press on it. So this is switches to windowed mode. Then we need to quit. And if you run the game again, it will be in windowed mode. Here is a windowed mode. And you can see also console window where available output from IdaJS will be provided. For now, we can see there is no mod loaded. So it says the game will run as vanilla. So now if you play this game, it will be just standard LBA2 without mods yet. Let's try to mod it. So let's first quit the game. And I will show you how to import a mod in a simple way first, and then we'll show more how you can install tools to use IntelliSense and to edit your own mods in better way. But first, let's just import a mod. For this, we have another tool here near setup. We have setup CFG. So let's just run it without any administrator. It needs to be just run. And this tool has a few options. We need to import mods, so we need to select a folder. And let's go to our IdaJS. Here, we need to go to IDA folder, and there is a folder called samples. In samples, you have some demo mods with a lot of comments, so you can start learning them and quickly understand how to write your own mods. So they are designed for this. There is also some tools like animation that allows you to view different animations, but I will tell later about this. For now, let's take a simple mod called Storm that allows us to change the weather from dialog, and let's import it. So we select the folder and press select folder, right? And it says mod storm imported successfully. Now, what else you can do in this menu? You can also change language if you need. So it's also done here. Now we can close it, and we can run LBA2 again. So going again to release folder and run LBA2. And let's see what happens. So you can see there is now output that this is a mod loaded from this folder. And you can also see that it has some output about what this mod is. So let's try. Here, if you talk to this guy, the meteor mage or weather wizard, you can have a dialogue. And I can say, I prefer sunny weather. And you can see things change to sunny. If I go back and talk to him, I can switch to storm weather, for example. So this is just a demo how you can change your weather in your mod if you need. But here, if you also select this option, it's a joke, right? So this is also an option. Now we can basically close this. And if you want to inspect the code of this mod, you can see now if you go to IdaJS. Now, if you go to the game run folder here, you can see the mods will be placed in mods folder. So they're after the name. So in here we have Storm, and you have a file called index.js. So if you open this file with anything like Notepad, let's choose another app and use Notepad, you can see the JavaScript code of this mod. So you can see it's pretty simple, small mod, where we have dialogue with hello Twinsen, which weather do you prefer? And there are options of answer. You can learn this code later. It has a lot of comments and it's pretty simple, but in next part of this video, I would like to show how we can run our own mod from scratch. And for this, I would recommend to install tools that make development with JavaScript much easier. So let's move to this part and let's go to documentation. And here we have a section that says writing mods using VS Code recommended. So we'll go through this. First of all, we need to download Visual Studio Code. ID. It's a lightweight ID from Microsoft. It's very good for JavaScript and TypeScript and other languages as well. So let's download Windows version since we are on Windows. And after that, we need to install. Accept. Let's install. And let's wait for it to install. Don't need to launch it yet. So let's just finish installer. Now we need to install Node.js. Node.js is the runtime to run JavaScript on outside of browser, let's say. We use Node.js here for build scripts, for automatically copy files, to facilitate how your code is synchronizing to the mod folder, so for such tasks. It basically we use Node.js for automation. To install it, let's follow those instructions. We have to run PowerShell 7 in administrator mode. Let's do it. So start and type PowerShell. And you can see PowerShell 7. We can right-click, run as administrator. And now we need just first do this to allow remote sign scripts execution for NPM to work. NPM is not package manager. And after that, we need to install Node.js. So for now, the latest long-time support version is 24.12. So let's copy and let's install it. Let's press enter. Yes, press Y and continue. Okay, it's installed. We can close administrator PowerShell now. And now we can open normal PowerShell. Let's type in PowerShell, just open it. We can verify that our node is installed. So if type node -v, you can see the version. And if you type npm -v, you can see the version of package manager. That's important part. Now let's create our first mod project. For this, let's go to our my project folder. So you type cd folder. So let's continue to create something fun. Let's create our first mod. Oh, here already switched to my real machine, but it has exactly the same setup that I just shown. So we have my project folder, and here you can see I have IdaJS folder with the engine installed and LBA architect tool. I will tell a bit later about this. But here we can create mods folder for our mods projects. Let's do it by calling them mkdir mods. And here we can change to this directory. So we are now inside of our mods folder. So to create our first mod, we will use tool, call it npx, then add IdaJS and create mod. So you can see we just type IdaJS create mod and press enter. Okay, now it's asking the name of our mod. Let's name it like test mod something, or let's name it my first mod. That's good name. The directory, let's keep it the same. Important that mod name contains no spaces, but words are separated with dashes. That's a convention. And the directory can be named whatever you want, but let's keep the same name, my first mod. And then we can choose JavaScript for simplicity. Now it's creating a project. Very nice. So let's start our Visual Studio Code in this folder. Now let's first see that folder exists. Type dir, you can see that my first mod created. Let's go to this folder, cd, my first mod. And we can now start Visual Studio Code. By typing dot, we started using this folder. You can see Visual Studio started. And here we have a structure of our files. The most important part sits inside of src. So here you can see it creates already index.js for us. It's the entry point of our mod with some templated code. We need to wait a bit for extensions to load. If Visual Studio Code proposes you to install any recommended extensions, please install them because we need Prater, so your code can be formatted in a good way. And you can see after Visual Studio Code fully loaded, you can see that we can have syntax highlights, and we can see in IntelliSense, we also see documentation of our functions of IdaJS when you mouse over it, so it's very handy. Here this index.js doesn't do anything, just has examples because it's an empty project. But the important thing to understand, the index.js is the only file IdaJS basically needs. So if you just run index.js inside of game run folder here, as I've shown before, if you just create your mod folder here, and just have your index.js here, that's enough to run your bot. All the rest of the files you can see here are just supporting the automation of this project, but they're not related to the code. The whole code sits inside of SRC folder, and we can also have media folder for your own images. We don't use it in this mod, but it's also possible. So let's do something fun. Before even starting to change, let's just run it. So by pressing Control and Tilt button on keyboard, I can run terminal. And it's handy to use it to run NPM scripts. You can see we have package.json file in which we have different targets. And what we need start to actually start your mod immediately. So let's just type npm start. So you can see it's now running, and we see the message from our mod, welcome to the IdaJS project. You can see this message is here, it's console log. So the output is in our terminal window. It's very handy. Let's make it a bit smaller. And let's now just start new game. Here you can see it's just normal LBA2 game. Nothing changed. Yeah. And now we'll start change it. So for this mod, I propose let's go and do something inside of the second room, inside of the storage room. So we can basically go here. So I made a small script that we can use. Let's play with this radio. So by default, radio says nothing in the beginning of the game. So I made a small scenario script because it's always handy to first write scenario before starting writing your mod script. So here we call it signals in the storm. Let's make some dialogue on the radio. So by default, game does nothing when you use radio in the beginning. So let's say Baldino just answers us and speaks something. Twinsen also participates in the dialogue. And in the end, it's finished. So here, Baldino would speak about some strange signals he detected, but the storm prevents him to investigate those signals further. So let's start implementing this. First of all, we need to make radio answer us. So let's try. And to start, we need to investigate the objects on the scene. For this, we need a tool called LBA Architect. So let me show you this tool. If you go to IdaJS site, I have a link to this LBA Architect, and we need to download this tool. It's a simple zip folder, and we need to unpack the zip folder somewhere. In our case, I already unpacked it, so it sits in my projects, LBA Architect or LB Architect project. So we need to run a builder here. And here you need to go to edit settings if you run it first time. And you need to specify the path. So you go to path and you need to specify the path to base directory of your LBA2. In this case, we have a Steam installation. That's why it sits here. And again, we need the path to not the root of Little Big Adventure to game, but to common folder where HQR files are located. Same as with IdaJS. Here you can use UI to specify the path if needed. And now If you did it, then it should work, and you can now use file open grid scene. Here we have only LBA2 installed because this tool can work also with LBA1 scenes. Here we need to find the room we're interested in. In this case, they're all named, and it's called in this tool Twinsen's house secret room. Let's open this. And we need to open in scene mode for scene editing because we will see scripts and objects. That's what we are interested in. So let's open. We can make it full screen. With middle mouse button, we can scroll the view a bit. And I will explain a bit what the scene consists from. So all the scenes in LBA is like standalone locations when some game events happen. Each scene has its own scene variable state, so it has its own kind of memory, but there is also global game variables that is your world memory for what happened everywhere. So in this scene, we have some objects. You can see this man silhouette is game objects or actors, as we call it game objects in IdaJS. We can also call them actors. Objects, they do something. They are interactive. They usually can run scripts, and they do something useful on the scene. Other than objects, you can see these boxes, and boxes are zones. So if you select, you can use select tool here, and then we can select. Zones are just some boxes, some areas that are not visible, but they're useful for the script because the script can check in which zone we are and do something. So in this case, we are interested in several objects. So first, this guy in the door says hero and actor 0. This guy is basically a Twinsen. So everything has to have hero object, and it will be also entrance location. So this in LBA architect specifies the entrance location. So Twinsen enters through the door, and we can see he is staying here by default. Then we have another object, number 5. Each object has its own ID, so it should be unique on the scene. And this object is responsible for radio. So this is radio object. And then in the end, we have radio zone. So we need to know when Twinsen speaks to radio, he needs to stay close to radio. That's why we need radio zone that detects it. And we can see in inspector here that the type of the zone is generic zone. It means it can be used in scripts, and it has index. So in scripts to determine which generic zone Twinsen stays in, we use this index. So that's very useful. But also zone has ID. That also needs to remember, same as any object. Zones also have IDs. In this case, this zone has ID 1, for example. This zone has ID 5, and so on. And this object has ID 5. This is not related. Objects have their own IDs, and zones have their own IDs. They can be the same, but they are not related to each other. So let's see what script is doing. We can go and click on Twinsen object, select actor. And then if you click here, you can select AI scripts. And we will see the scripts of Twinsen on this scene. You can see there is two parts of this window. The left one is live script, and the right one is move script. There is no move script for now. There is only live script of Twinsen. Live script runs every frame, so it means every frame all this code runs, but it's only one comportment that can be selected. So, for example, some comportment will run every frame and something will happen, and then it might switch comportment to some other one, and the other comportment might run. Here we have two of them, main comportment and comportment number 1. Usually main comportment is used to set up initial values, and after that it switches to comportment 1, and every frame comportment 1 will run and check some condition, do something. This happens every frame, so very fast, basically many times per second. If you had the move script is a bit different. It has commands that run across multiple frames. So it's basically walking somewhere, playing some animation, playing some sounds, things like that. And it's a sequence of commands that happens over time. In other objects, you can see move script, but here in this scene, we don't have move script on Twinsen. So to find what happens with Twinsen when he interacts with radio, we need to find this zone. So if you go to the zone, You can see the value of the zone is 2. And we need to find it in script. So we go to Twinsen script. And let's find. The script is not very handy. That's why we use JavaScript. But you can get what happens. At least the variables here are just numbers, but you can get what happens by, for example, checking the zone. So there is switch zone. And it says if zone has value 0, do something. If zone has value 2, do something else. And that's our case where we are interested in. So if Twinsen is staying in zone 2, we are doing something here, right? What we are doing here, we're checking some variable, we're checking his angle to face the zone, and then we say some message. Maybe it's just hello, something that's probably the message that he's saying. So let's try to do something. Let's go to our script. And here we have a very important event listener that is entry point usually for all our setup. This event called after load scene. And here we start setting up our scene. So we have a hook here, and we check the scene ID, and we can do some setup. So let's clean up internals of the script, and I will show how we do setup from scratch. So let's clean everything inside. So we have only empty event listener. Now we need to check the scene ID, right? So if scene ID equals, let's call it cellar scene ID, right? Then we will do something. Let's open here. But what is cellar scene ID? We need to first find it out. Let's create maybe variable. And let's find out. I will show you how to do it. So to find out scene IDs, we need to open documentation. Let me go to Visual Studio Code, and we can open another window. Call it new window. And we can open folder. We can select our IdaJS project installation, and we need to open IDA folder where the IdaJS source code is sitting. Here we have some handy documents. We have src.js folder, and here we have folder called LBA2 editor. So if you expand this folder, you can see all the scene IDs for all planets. In this case, we're interested in Twinsen planet, so let's open Twinsen TS file. And we can see all our scenes sorted by islands, by sections. And here you can see IDs of those scenes, right? So let's find, we have Twinsen house area, we have Twinsen house, we have cellar. And we can see that ID of cellar is 1. So that's what we need to use. We go here and we set it to 1. So just having handy constants, cellar scene ID is 1. And if we are in the cellar scene, then our mod will do something. Otherwise, we don't modify other scenes in this mod. Otherwise, you could have more else here. But let's invert this if. So if not, it's cellar, then we return. So we don't do anything. It's more handy like this. So we return. Otherwise, we start doing something. So let's first check if player press action button, because if you go to our script, you can see that when we press action button, he says hello, and then some sound from radio happens, and nothing else, right? Let's save our game here. I will call this save test, just so we have saved game. And let's also implement reaction action button in IdaJS. But we need to set up behavior of our Twinsen in IdaJS. So let's first get hold of Twinsen object. Let's say const Twinsen equals scene. Scene is a special object in IdaJS that allows you to manipulate scene objects. We have auto-completion here. We can call get object. And we can pass 0 because our hero object is ID is always 0. And you can also see it here on the scene. You can see that this is 0 object. This is our Twinsen. On all the scenes, Twinsen will be always 0, but other objects can have different IDs. Right? Just convention that our player is always 0. And then we need to handle live script in IdaJS. So let's say Twinsen dot handle live script. And here we need to pass a function that will be our live script handler, right? So let's create an empty function. Here, this will be our live script. So every frame, this function will run and will tell what to do for Twinsen. So I have some suggestions from AI, so I'll pay attention to those. Okay, then we need to check if player pressed action button. So for this, we need to run a live function. Sorry, it's AI suggestion. So let's say is action pressed equals ida dot live f. Live f means we are calling function within LBA2 engine, and then we need to pass object ID. Here it's handy that the function in live script has object ID as a argument, so we can always have ID of our object that we run live script on. We know it's 0 in this case, but in common case it's handy to use just object ID. It's always first argument of a live function to object ID of the object who calls. Then the second one will be the opcode, so the name of function we want to call, and for this we use ida live from capital letter dot, and then we can press Control space to have suggestions. In this case, we already have LF action. You can see documentation. Test if the action key is currently being pressed, right? And returns action key was pressed. So this is what we are checking. And let's output it, right? Console.log. This is standard JavaScript. And we can say action pressed. Okay, AI is helpful now. We have is action pressed. Let's see what. Before that, I want to also show that if you go to documentation, you can always see all the functions here. So for example, you can see live f that we just call it. We have a reference. And if you want to see which function it supports, you can go to this live functions and you can see documentation for all the functions LBA2 supports. And also we have, for example, live commands when you need to run procedures on LBA2 code. It's all documented here. So please use the documentation when developing mod. It's handy to have it open. Now that we added this, let's run it. We can call npm start. Okay, let me position the window so you can see our console as well. And we can load our saved game. Okay, and you can see now what happens, right? It outputs action pressed 0, but if I press action and hold space, it outputs 1. That's not surprising because, as I said, live script is running every frame. So all the code you write there is running very fast. It's running many times per second, every frame. So let's go back here. You can see that this function is running basically now every frame. And we can see when action is not pressed or when it's pressed, the state is checked every frame. But what we need to do, we need to create a trigger, right? We need to trigger when player pressed action button, then we need to do something. But we don't need to repeat this action. We need to do it once, right? That's why we have a special function, call it isTrigger. So let's do like this, is triggered true in this case. And this will be our condition that we will do something. And you can see the function is missing some argument because it's underscored. We need the store here, we need the state name, and we need the condition that we are checking. So the store is just some object where we store the previous value, because if triggered true will become true only if the value was false and became true in this particular frame. That's why we need some store object. Let's create it. Let's call it temp store. In this case, we don't need to persist the state, so we can just name it temp store. And whenever scene is loaded, somewhere here in the beginning of after load scene event, we can reset this temp store to make it empty object. That's very handy when you need to check triggers that are not persistent in your save game, because it's just pressing action button and it doesn't need to be persistent. So we pass temp store. The second one should be just name of our trigger, can be action pressed. And then we need the condition when trigger becomes true, and then we write here just normal condition is action pressed, and then equals 1. In this case, it needs to be 1, because if you look at the return of this function, of this opcode, sorry, if you look at the return of this opcode, it returns I8, means integer. If you want to know what these types of opcodes mean, again, you can go to documentation, and we have in the beginning we have all these types. Actually, we're missing I8. Need to add here, but you got the point. So they are different type of integers. Now we can write something maybe. So whenever player presses action, we can write something. Let's write console action pressed event triggered. Okay, that's good enough. Let's remove this console log. Then let's see what happens. We don't need to restart, because you see we have synchronization script that automatically copies your script to game run mods folder of IdaJS. Here, what we just need to do is we need to reload game, so the script will be hot reloaded. So we can see load game, and we can load again. Or for example, you can start new game, both new and load game will hot reload JavaScript. The only important that you do it from menu, not from hotkeys. If you do it from hotkeys, it will not hot reload JavaScript. So now we reload the game, right? And then let's see what's on terminal. Now you can see we have welcome to IdaJS project, but we have nothing anymore because we removed the section pressed spam. But if I press space now, you can see action pressed event triggered. And even if I hold space, it only happens once. So whenever I press space 3 times now, and it happens exactly how many times I press space. If I hold it, it will not spam, because now trigger controls that we only call this when this was not 1 and it became 1. So that's why it's called is trigger true. This is very handy. But now let's do something, right? Let's when Twinsen. So you can see now maybe the radio doesn't work anymore, because we intercepting the script now. So we outputting something, but the action doesn't happen, right? So now we need to re-implement this part where we do something ourselves, but we want to do it only if he's staying close to the radio and his angle is correct, right? So let's take a look at the original script for this. How is checking it? So let's go to the actor 0 in LBA architect. So if you open Twinsen original script here, what happens in zone 2, we can see that we are checking that he is in zone 2. And we are also checking the angle that he's facing that zone. So let's start with checking that he's in this zone. If our action pressed, we need to check another condition. So let's say const zone value equals, and we have already I suggestion as. So we call IdaLifeF with passing again our object ID that is color. And then there is live functions lf zone command that determines which scenario zone this actor is currently in, right? So let's try to output it. Let's modify our console log here. We can say action pressed event triggered when player is in zone, and then we output the zone value. Let's see what happens, right? We need to again reload the game and say load, say test, and let's open terminal. We can see it. And let's press action button, and you can see action pressed, event triggered, and players in zone 2. Now if I go somewhere else, for example, you can see it's -1 now. So when you are not in particular zone, it returns -1. When you are near the radio, it's now zone 2. Right? Then let's do something when you are in zone 2 and when you're pressing action, let's say hello, same as original game says in this case. It's easy to do. We can say Ida. For this, you need to run live command. So live is just a command, it's not a function, doesn't return the result, but it works similarly. So we can say object ID first, who runs, and then use Ida dot live, and all procedures start with lm, and then we use auto-completion. In this case, we need to say message. We can use message, and the message requires your text ID or the text, but first I will show how you run your own text a bit later, but let's first output the existing text from the game. In this case, if again go to LBA architect, we can see that Twinsen says depend on this variable, whatever it is, some game variable, it checks either he says 30 or 107. Let's try both and see which one works for us. So we go back to here and let's pass 30, right? Because that's what LM message requires. It requires 16-bit integer parameter. So it requires a number of text in the game. Let's see what happens. So yeah, I need to again load the game and then press action. He says hello. So that's actually the one that we need. Just for curiosity, let's check what 107 is. So save, load. Oh, that's interesting. I don't remember when exactly this happens, but that's another one, right? So we will say hello in this case. So let's keep searching. But now let's also restart the game and see what happens. When you press action button, he reacts, right? But if he stays not facing the radio and we press action button, he still says hello. If we exit the zone, then he also says hello. So we need some condition, right? We need for him to start talking to the radio only if he's staying near the radio and if his angle is correct, if he's facing the radio. So for this, we need to check, right? We need to check if zone value equals 2 in this case, because radio zone is 2, we've seen in LBA architect, then we say this message, right? Only in this case. So let's wrap it into this condition. And we load the game again. Now it says hello. If I go somewhere further and press action, nothing happens. So that's what we need, right? But now if I turn in an opposite direction and press action, he still says hello. And that's because we don't check the angles yet. To check the angles, there is two ways. There is old way, new way. I will show both. Let's first do it old way. So we can check the angle of our object. So let's say const angle equals scene get object 0 is Twinsen. And then we have get angle function that simply returns number. That means angle, right? So let's whenever player saying something, let's output his angle to see console log pressing action button in zone 2, this angle, and then angle. Yeah, that's good enough. Let's remove this old message already. Let's take a look. So if I now load game again, so let me press something here, and you can see the angle is this value 2204. If I press, if I go to another direction, my angle is something like 137. To explain angles, let me show the picture. If you go to documentation, to the root, we see here some information about the game, and we have scene coordinate system section. So that's how that coordinate system that uses. There is direction, north, east, west, and south, and there is angle starting from 0 degrees. So if you're facing south, then if you're facing east, it's 1024, 2048 if you're facing north, and the west is 3072, right? This angle is the same as 360-degree angle. It's just using integer units. So 0 matches 0, and 4096 matches 360 degrees. So 2048 matches 180 degrees, and so on. So it's a pretty easy system. In this case, we are facing north, apparently, that we can see from the script from architect, because there is a coordinate here. You can see that z coordinate plus is directed here. And on this documentation, you can see that z minus is opposite of z plus, is north. So we are facing north. And also, if you go to the script here, let's open it again. You can see we are checking angles between 1,500 up to 2,500. So we should be more than this angle, but less than this better. Just so you know, in this old script, beta is named for horizontal angle, because it uses alpha, beta, gamma system for angles, and beta is our angle around vertical axis, so it's the angle in horizontal plane. So that's why it can be called better, and it's just to remember it's an our angle. So it's between those two values, and if you look at coordinate system, it's actually somewhere here, right? So 1,000 half should be somewhere here, and then 2,000 half should be somewhere here. So we have a cone that's facing north. So let's just do the same, and let's just check our angle like this. So we check, and if zone is 2 and angle is more than 1,536, if I remember correctly, and angle is less or equal than 2005 something. Let me verify. It's 1,536 to 1,560. Yeah, so AI was correct. So now we are checking that we are facing this angle, and only then we output this message, hello. So let's remove this console log, not needed now, and let's see if it works. Load game. So now if I'm facing the radio, it says hello. If I'm facing somewhere here and press space, nothing happens. That's what we need. But there is one more way to do it using IdaJS that is more modern, where we can just check that the player is facing direction towards this zone. So for this, we can, instead of angle, we can remove this angle code and say scene, get object 0, it's our Twinsen hero, and we have is facing zone direction. And here it's important to know the argument of this function. So it has two arguments if you mouse over it. First is zone ID, and then its direction. So it's checking versus zone, so it will correctly estimate the distance to this zone. It will calculate if you're far from zone, your cone will be thinner, and if you're close to zone, your view cone will be thicker. So it will geometrically correctly check your direction to the zone. This is, in this sense, it's better than just checking hard-coded angles value. And we need to have zone ID we are checking again. So let's go back to architect and see our zone here. It's important that this is not this zone value that we use in the scripts to check players in zone, but here we are using zone ID, because this zone value can belong to many zones if you want to create some group of zones with the same value, but zone ID is unique per zone. Here we need a unique value. So this is 1 in this case. So we go and we say 1, and then we need direction. And for this, we have a object. Object helps you with touching the direction, transform, positions, and other scene-related stuff and objects-related stuff. So here we can see it has zone directions. It's an kinda enum. So if you press dot and control space, we can see directions. So in this case, we need to select north, right? So we select north, and we are checking that we are facing north towards this zone 1. That's enough. Then we don't need to check the player angle. We can delete this line, and let's see what happens. We need to load the game again. And now again, if I press it here, it says hello. If I turn somewhere else, it doesn't. So you can see it now works the same way, but now it checks just towards direction. The code becomes also more readable like that, because usually things are facing somewhere straight, north, east, west, to south, so it's easier to do it like that. Let's keep this. And now we need to check back our scenario, right? So we have Twinsen says hello, but we need Baldino to reply. We can see that our radio also has some script. Let's take a look here. That actually checks chapter and variable, and depending only if chapter is less than 3, then this radio will do something. It has also move scripts that does waiting before you can see this beep sound. That's interesting because we will do something similar soon. Then it also has the sample command that plays sound sample as preview with beep. So this is also can be used in our script, but we are not going to check chapters now and other variables, even though in real mode you would need to check it to not always do what we are doing. But for now, we always will call Baldino just for simplicity of this mod. Just to know, there is also variable checks here, and also Twinsen checks some variable in his script also here, right? We have checking variable 2, var cube means scene variable, and we also check in this var game that can be hello, or it can be I'm looking for lighthouse keeper. That I don't remember when it happens in the game, but funny it exists. So let's go back here and let's try to reply something. So Baldino needs to say Twinsen, I managed to get through for a moment. Let's make another message after that one, right? The ida.live, and we can type again object ID because it's all our commands should start with our object ID. And then we type ida live, and again lm message, because we again need to play a message, but now from Baldino. And now we need to put a custom text because we don't have any ID for our text. We need to create it. So let's create it here. Let text ID. This will be our ID for all text we use in the script. And here in the beginning of our scene initialization, somewhere here, we need to say text ID equals text.create. So text object is the IdaJS object that allows you to manage all text, all custom text in the game. Now we just create an ID that we can reuse in all our scripts. So here, what we need to do, we need to say text.update, and we pass our text ID, and we can say the line. So let's copy paste this line from our script. Twinsen, I managed to get through for a moment. Right. Let's copy paste it here. Okay. There is extra quote here. Okay. So now we have a line. We have Baldino saying this. Let's see how it looks. Let's again load the game. Yeah, so we can see there is a few issues. First, this happens immediately. And then we also want probably Baldino portrait here. So let's do all the things. First, let's make it not happen immediately with hello. Let's make Twinsen say hello. And after like 1 second, this text appears. Okay, for this, we need to do a delay, right? So we said here, hello. Let's actually put a comment so we know what's happening in this line. And then we say something in the response, but we cannot make any delay inside of LiveScript because LiveScript needs to be very fast. It cannot have any delays. It just happens every frame. To make a delay, we need a coroutine. And for this, let's start to get familiar with coroutine or move script, as you can see in the old script. So if you look at radio object, for example, here, we have this move script that says wait for 2 seconds and then stop. That's exactly what happens when radio is waiting before doing the beep sound for you. So we can do the same, but we do it in modern system. We just use function. Let's rename this function that's already created for us. Name it wait for response. We don't need any arguments for this function, and we don't need any comment here. So all coroutines consist of commands starting with yield because it's generator functions. All commands need to start with yield so they can save and restore the position. And we need usually to call a command called doMove that will execute moveScript command of LBA2. In this case, when we execute LiveScript command, we do it through IdaLive opcodes. Here we have ida.move that contains all possible moveScript commands. And again, you can look at documentation. If you go to move opcodes, you can see that we have all possible move commands you can use in your coroutines in LBA2. So they're also documented. You can read them here. In this case, we need to wait, right? So all move commands start with TM prefix. Then we need to type wait. And there is wait NB second. This waits some number of seconds. In this case, let's wait 1 second, right? That should be enough. But after we waited, we need to continue. So we need some variable to be set, the scene variable, that we finish it waiting for response. For this, let's do it like that. Let's call yield. And there is a command called do scene store. Right? This is the one that sets the scene variable from coroutine. And here we have scene store. It's just object containing any scene variables you want to set. In this case, we can say store dot. Maybe we can say Baldino is talking now true, right? So after we waited, Baldino starts talking. Is talking. We can name variables as we want, so that should have meaning. Let's call it Baldino is talking and equals to true, right? Like this. Now we can check in the beginning of our live script. We can do something. So if Baldino is talking, but to get access to variables here, we have to first introduce scene store variable. So we have scene store constant, and we just call use scene store. That gives us access to all our scene variables in IdaJS. And now we can check if scene store Baldino is talking. Now it creates return, but we need to do a message, right? So we take this message and we paste it here. So if Baldino is talking, he is saying something. And then we return, because if he's talking, we don't need to check this condition, right? So because this is a new variable, we didn't set it. So by default in JavaScript, it will be just undefined. It's the same as false. So we can just check, okay, if it's true, it can become true only after this coroutine. Then we do something. Otherwise, we here. Now we say hello. So now after we said hello, we need to start our coroutine that will wait and then allow Baldino to start talking, right? So we need to say start coroutine. And we need to pass the name of our coroutine and object. We start coroutine on. We will start on Twinsen, because that's now the only object we are working with. And the name of coroutine, call it wait for response. Very handy. But for coroutine to work, we need to also register our coroutine. So somewhere here in the top of the scene, we need to say register coroutine. And we need to provide the name and the function. So the register coroutine, you can see it takes name and takes the function. So all coroutines must be registered once in after load scene event. After load scene is basically our scene setup where we stop everything, and we also register in coroutines. Let's try what happens. So can load game. And let's see also our console. And now if I say hello, so now you can see an error, and the error is on line 48 of our index.js, and it says the move script for object 0 is not set to be controlled by the IDA mod engine. Use object handle move script. That's what we forgot to do. If you go to line 48, we start coroutine, but this object, that is Twinsen in this case, doesn't handle move script from IdaJS. So we need to do it here in the send setup. We have to call once Twinsen dot handle move script. Now this object will run coroutines from IdaJS and will not run any move scripts from original LBA2, if any. So this is important to know, that this switches object to the mode where we can run IdaJS coroutines on this object. So we call Twinsen handle move script, and then let's try again. We load the game. So we can see console. Now when I do hello, see after 1 second I have this dialog. But now we have another problem. If I press enter or space, the dialog just repeats itself infinitely, right? So it never ends. And this is a problem because again, what happens? The live script runs every frame, and since now we set the state to Baldino is talking, then every frame we check, okay, it's true, and then run this message again and again. So we need something to stop it. So we need some state saying Baldino is done talking. So let's do it. After we run this message, we run scene store Baldino is done talking equals true. And now if this happens, let's check it. So if scene store Baldino is done talking, then we basically don't need anything. We don't need our radio dialog to repeat again. We can return radio to default behavior. So we can say return true. In this case, the true means that we allow LBA live script to be executed after us, and means radio will start working as normal when Baldino is done talking. We are not going to execute our checks again. So let's see how it works. Let's again, now we need to restart because dialog will now run infinite without allowing us to press escape. So I can close this and start npm start again. And let's also move it a bit. Load game. And let's press action button. Says hello. Then say Twinsen, I mentioned to get through for a moment. And then if I press escape, okay, didn't work. Okay, what we forgot here is that we need to also check if Baldino is talking and if he's not done talking, because if he's, oh, maybe let's make it simpler. So let's move this condition to the beginning. So let's move it here. And first thing we will check if Baldino is done talking. We are not doing anything. We are not going to check this. We return it true. Otherwise, we check in Baldino is talking. That should be enough. If you want to be absolutely safe, we can actually set also scene store. Baldino is talking to false. So we also don't go here. Let's now start again. And let's load game, pressing space. Okay, now when I press escape, you can see that the dialog finished normally. And now if I try to use radio again, it will happen normal radio beep. So this is basically standard radio behavior because we now allowing LBA live script to execute in this state. So our script does nothing but executing this lines and returns true to allow LBA live script to execute. All right, so let's make this Baldino dialog a bit better. We need first change this color. So for this, we can switch to mode where we can pass more arguments to our dialog. So let's wrap it into array. And we can add, in array mode, we can add flags and colors. So we can say here text dot flags. Then we have auto completion. We have dialog radio. That's what we need to say, because dialog radio will mean actually Baldino's sprite appearing by default. We can also use our own sprite, you can see in other samples, but for this example, it's enough for us to show Baldino. And we also want to change colors, so let's add one more argument. Let's add text dot colors. And if I remember correctly, Baldino color usually he speaks with this dusty blue. Maybe I'm wrong, but doesn't matter for this example. It should be different than Twinsen color, right? Let's see how it looks like. So load the game again. Okay, now it's nice. Twinsen, I managed to get through for a moment. Much better, right? Here it's a bit of hack. So this sprite, it's only Baldino or Zoe you can use from vanilla game. Otherwise, you can use our own sprites by providing your own PNG file. You can look at bathroom sample, how it's done. It's very simple as well. But if you want to use vanilla game sprites, it's only Baldino or Zoe, and they're defined by the color of a person who is talking. In this case, it's Twinsen. And if it's not Zoe color, then it will be shown Baldino. If the person has Zoe color, so if it's Zoe, then it will be Zoe portrait. So if you, for example, go here and change Twinsen default talk color to Zoe, let's do it like Twinsen dot set talk colors. It will be default color person is talking with. And then we use text color, and here we use Zoe. We have a color for it. Zoe red, let's call it. Then let's see what happens. So I start load game. Then Twinsen now talking in Zoe, and you can see that now the sprite is Zoe because we changed the Twinsen color. That's how you can set the sprites by the color of person who is talking in the game. Or you can use your own sprites in those dialogues as well now with IdaJS. So let's change it. Let's remove it. Change Twinsen back to his normal color. And now we need to continue our dialogue from the script simply. So Baldino continues saying something else, right? He's saying this line. Let's do it. So let's copy paste this command and we do here. And now we need to insert this line, right? So again, let's remove extra quote here, add it, and format it. So now it should be good. And afterwards, what do we have in our script? We have Twinsen, who is asking what kind of signals, right? Or what kind of signals. Then we need to, let's paste again the whole thing. Right, and this time we want Twinsen, who is talking. So let me copy from here. without quotes this time. So like this we can build now. When it's Twinsen talking, let's not make it dialog radio because we don't want to show Baldino sprite while Twinsen is talking. Let's make it dialog default. And we don't need color. It will be used Twinsen default color when he's talking, right? Let's see how it works up to this point. Okay, so he is talking again. And then Twinsen asking what kind of signals or signals, I don't know the right pronunciation for this. And then we can continue. Baldino answering something, right? Let's also add this. So we simply now copy paste this command. If you want, you can wrap them in nice functions so they look less in the code. But for now, let's use the full command for simplicity and for show what we exactly doing. We need one more. We need also one more, and we'll need the last replica from Twinsen, right? This feels wrong. Let's insert all the three now and start replacing them, right? So here we're replacing to I don't know yet. No planetary, no military, just different. Then we have this one. Okay, we need to fix a bit of formatting here. If you want to move to next line, by the way, you can just use normal /n character. So it means this once the weather will start a new line. This is allowed in those dialogues. There are also some other characters you can use in those texts. You can read it in documentation. And the last, so this is two replicas from Baldino, and then the last replica from Twinsen, right? Probably after radio cutoff, we can say the last replica, this feels wrong. And let's put it here. And let's also make this verse to be set not in dialog frame, but on top of Twinsen head, like a small replica, small verse. It's nice to say like that. So we can change the flag to, there is a flag, call it dialog say, that enables text over character head. And again, we don't need the color because it's Twinsen. All right, let's put empty line here. And let's see how this works together. We'll load. And let's use hello. Twinsen, I managed to get through for a moment. And right before the storm started, I detected very strange signals from space. They don't match anything I've ever recorded. What kind of signals? I don't know yet. Not planetary, not military, just different. With this storm, my instruments are useless. Once the weather clears up, I'll investigate more. This feels wrong. Okay, so we made our short dialogue. That's basically now radio says nothing afterwards, and that's our mod example. We did our mod. That's quite small. I will also save this mod to samples from now on, so you can see them in here in IdaJS. They will be available. This mod will be available amongst other samples you can go through here. But now, before we finish this tutorial, let me show you one of the samples that is new one, and it's pretty special. It's an animation viewer that's created to view animations of different characters and their bodies, because often when you want to write mod, you need some special character to be present on the scene, like Dinofly is present in the bus room sample. But how do you do it if you don't know the idea of this 3D model and idea of his animations? For this, we have a handy way to do it. And also, I will show how to run the sample, because it's also nice to see how you can run sample using Visual Studio Code. So let's open another folder here. Let's maybe first quit our application. And then we can open another folder. We go to My Projects, IdaJS, Ida, Samples, and we open Animation Sample in Visual Studio Code. So let's do it. And you can see it has only index.js file, and it has not much other things, because the sample needs to be initialized in Visual Studio Code first, so we can use all this npm start and other things, and we can use syntax highlighting, documentation. You see now it doesn't know our objects because nothing is initialized. So for this, we can again call the Visual Studio Code terminal by using Control tilde button. And then all we need to say here is not two dots slash install. So this install.js is in parent folder. We need to run it once to install all the infrastructure files for our sample before we start using it from Visual Studio Code. So let's run it. You can see it's doing all the things that npx IdaJS create mod doing, but in this folder for this sample, populating it with infrastructure scripts. Now it's complete. And now you can see that if you highlight any object, you can see it starts to show documentation of IdaJS. So it now recognizes our objects. It's very good. Now knows our types. So this sample, you can also study it if you want, but it doesn't have much comments because it's more like a tool. But important that we need sometimes some objects, and we need to change how they look. So we need to make this object to be Zoe or Dinofly or Baldino or whoever. For this, we need to call setEntity method on the object, right? SetEntity is actually the one that changes the 3D model of object. It changes the group of models because every entity has many bodies, so many submodels that can be changed. For example, Zoe has two. It has Zoe normal and Zoe with umbrella. So you can also use setBody to set the body, and then you need animate objects. Say what is doing. Dinofly can lay down on the ground, or he can fly, he can walk. So this set animation is basically animate the object. So you need to know these three functions to set up the object. And here we want to know those IDs, right? So first of all, we'll start with entity, because this tool allows you to monitor one entity at a time. We need to set the entity ID we want to view here, right? To know the entity ID, we go to, again, to IdaJS code. We go to src.js, and we go to architect. Architect has some copy of documentation from LBA architect. And here we have a file called entities.md. You can see all entities the game supports in our files, in HQR files of the game, with names and with IDs. If you add your own 3D models to HQR files, of course, you will have new ID here, but those are all vanilla game IDs. So in this case, let's find Dinofly, maybe. Let's try to see what his animations, what his bodies are. Let me search for Dino. Okay, so we see Dinofly is here, and his ID is 109. Let's go to this sample and set the entity ID that we want to explore to 109. That's all we need to change. And now we can go to npm start and then run the sample. The console will be useful in this case because it explains also how to use it. It says this animation viewer. So if you start new game, you can see we see a model of Dinofly with Twinsen sitting on top because it's part of body in this case. And you can see it outputs our entity 109. Different body types, right? We have 0 is default one, Dinofly with Twinsen with tunic model. We have also just normal Dinofly model. We have Dinofly with Twinsen with wizard's tunic. And also one more. I don't know what's different in this one, but some of those names are intersecting. So then see all the animations. Unfortunately, for animations, we don't have any name it annotations or the IDs, but we can view all animations and see the needed animation we need here, right? You can also see how you use this tool. It says press action button to change animations and approach the frog and press action button to change bodies. So we have frog to help us change bodies and normal action button without turning to frog will change the animation. Let's first try to cycle through animations. So press I will go away from frog. Press action and you see it says animation 334 doing something right. Then if press again, it cycles through all animation from this list. 335 now. When it's sick, then this is another animation when he's just walking in place. So you can see all animation like this. You can select which animations you want for your situation and take this number and use it for animation. So for example, you want this animation, has number 338, it prints it, and you can use it in your mod. And you see you have fly animations. Oh, yes, that's unfortunate. But yeah, that's how animation cycle works. And we can cycle through all of them. And be careful, Twinsen. Okay, I think now it's peaceful again. Let's change bodies. So frog, we just turn to the frog and we say again, we press space as action. And you can see the body 37 is enabled now, it's just Dynafly model. Then is body 116 is Dynafly with Twinsen with Wizard's tunic. This is also body when Twinsen wears this tunic. And the last body is actually the same. I don't know if it's different, but yeah, some bodies duplicate sometimes. But yeah, you can see there is 3 different bodies here. And all of them have the same set of animations. So if I now cycle through animations, press space again, you can see the animations are basically the same, but body is different. It's very handy. Oh no, don't kill me, Dino. What else we can try? We can try, for example, Zoe. Zoe has ID 15. I remember her, but we can look always here again. Right? We can see all our IDs, and if you look 15 is Zoe. We can do the same if I now start new game again. Right? Then you can see the Zoe is now here in our lab. And if I look at console, you can see she has only 2 bodies. Unfortunately, my terminal doesn't support French character, but it's Zoe model and Zoe with umbrella model. And then she has a lot of animations. All those are her animations. So let's switch model first. Let's add frog. This is basically umbrella model. And if you switch again, it will be normal model. And then we can cycle through animation by placing action. You can see she has walk animation, damage animation, kissing animation, our favorite one, right? Then this waving. Oh, this is falling animation, I guess. And this is already down. This is some hugs animation. Oh, I like it. And repairing the car animation, I guess. Animation 88, also something. 89 also walking. Then we have 65 is when she's angry. And the last one is 90 is painting the wall, actually, something in the room. Yeah, so that's basically how you look for your need animation. You can just use it. And it also shows how you can use IdaJS to actually create tools within IdaJS itself. All right, I think we can end this tutorial for now. Please try IdaJS, and I will be glad if you share your creations, and feel free to ask any questions if you have. And I guess we'll see you in another video. Bye.